Okay. No, bro, don't bother right now. I need to add. I need to add this. Now, that would add. Okay, good. Just making sure. We will circle around to the other thing. I just want to test this first. So, what are we doing? What are we doing today? Today is we are double checking and double testing. If my if things will just load, that'd be great. Oh, and that's where. Oh, so we can actually we're actually good. Okay. Okay. I'm waiting for Minecraft to load up. There we are. All right. So what we're doing today is I am basically we're gonna see how much we can get with these two things. I want to test quality tools to see if the armor injector thing that I wrote is working correctly. This thing here, where I register an armor value injector to basically grab the modifier that quality tools is going to be using. Um, and use that to add to the armor and toughness. That's basically what I want to do. And use that to, yeah. I don't know if it'll really I don't know if it's necessary, if it'll work. That's what we're here to test. And then we're gonna work on first aid, which is going to be a little tricky. Okay. So, basically, we should be able to see quality tools kind of in action here because, yeah, because it's got all this, right? This doesn't have a quality. So we're gonna check just that one. Let's see. That's my example stick. Okay, so then I probably want to compare it against a regular one. This one's fine. The magic shielding shouldn't make a difference. Actually, I might want to double check that and make sure it doesn't. Okay, this one's good. This one's good. So against the bludgeoning fella, I get minus 4.2 armor. So I have minus 70% effectiveness, and so that should be minus 4.2, right? Because that'll give me 1.8. 1.8. Or I guess what I'm doing is I'm checking 7 times 0.3, which is... No, I'm testing 6 times 0.3. Excuse me. So it's 1.8, so that is minus 4.2. Okay, yeah. Good. Good. Now, if I swap this for this one, it should still do the same thing. Yeah, it's still minus 4.2. Okay. And then this one, I have no armor toughness or magic shielding, so it doesn't matter. Also, I don't want to get killed here. But, now that I have minus 1 armor, or minus 1.5 armor, I have 4.5 armor. So 4.5 times 0.3. Not 45, bro. 4.5. 4.5. 1.35. So I should get a minus 3.15 armor or something. Yeah, look at that! Why did I get a plus 0.7 toughness modification? 'Cause I should have no toughness. That's something. Let me take a look here. Yeah, it is providing that, but why? I should have no toughness. Yeah, what's the delta? The delta is apparently plus 0.7, and that doesn't make sense. Okay, why not? It does get the right thing, right? Like, it got the right thing of being, 4.5 armor and -1 toughness. And it applied the armor correctly, but for some reason it did not apply the toughness correctly. So now, how is it getting that? New delta armor values is this. So that would be in this, where the delta armor values returns, where's the get for this? Armor vals. So where armor vals is set is right here. That is the only place. So it's probably related to the armor calc rule. I don't know which one I had set. Oh, this is a thinker. Um, well, for starters, it looks like it's doing this whole thing twice, which it doesn't need to. It should save the result. Because it'll classify the armor, and then later on, I'm getting the armor values from the stack. So it's like I'm already doing that when I'm classifying the armor. I think I need to make this a little bit better. I can make this a little bit better. Um, no, 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 no. I don't think I can put that there. Because this is only package private. So I need something like this. Import map, import all those. No, I can't implement that kind of iterable. Just extend hash map. Don't implement map directly. That's nonsense. I don't know if I need that actually. Might not be necessary. I map the enemy equipment slot and the armor values. This is the AV map. Nope. That's the A map. That's the AV map. Distributed armor effectiveness. Get. It's gonna be slot because I forgot to put slot there. I don't need to implement anything other than that. It just needs to be a thing that can store all of this information. That's all it needs to be. And then the armor classifier needs to implement a classifier that gives us an armor classification. Yes. So now this is an armor classification. We are once again swapping this out for something else. As always, what else is different? And now we also need a map of an entity equipment slot to armor values. This is the AV map. Maps.new hash map. How does this do this? Oh, it streams it and then it merges it, right? All together. Yeah, it gets the new Delta armor values, and then it streams it all together and it merges it. I probably want this to be a non-null map, just in case. Well, this can be a map. Nah, leave it a map. Have this be the AV map, and then new armor values. This is at non-null. This can be null. Now this... Yeah. It basically does the most simplest implementation of a get or default thing, which is perfect. Now I don't need to worry about it. If I try to get armor for something that does not exist, it will return null. Or sorry, it will return non-null, a non-null value. It will return an empty armor values container. What? Bro, what are you doing? AV map dot put in this slot AV. This is a new armor classification, which will take the A map and the AV map. Bada boom, bada bing. I might even make this private. Let's see how that goes for me. Oops. Now this is instead going to return a armor classification. Then over here, that was a for each entry in that we would remove a thing. Okay. Right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to this dot distributed armor effectiveness dot for each, and then we do the action. And it is like the same thing, but it's for the other map. Okay, now I don't need to worry about that. That's good. Wait, so what's going on here? It's mapping the armor values. Like, this is now armor values. Well, it was always armor values. We stream the armor values. They map each set of armor values by subtracting the original armor values for that slot to get a reference of like what modification it makes. Yeah. Now, I don't know. Okay, we don't need that anymore. Where can I... It's probably on the armor calc rule, right? So... Is this the previous value associated with key? Oh, okay, never mind. Then we'll just get it. And this is going to be this dot armor vals dot get for the slot. You can see where the armor values for the slot are for each one when I get hit to know what it's doing. And why it's working that way. Because it definitely shouldn't be. Because that would be the delta armor values that gets done here. This is where that's not right. Likely. Alright. Let's build this. Delete that. That finished. So now throw this over here. And now launch it. And now hopefully it works. Okay, do not look directly at the bugs. Please don't. Because then you will realize that it is broken. I missed the Forge loading screen. Forge loading screen is nice. I like the little anvil. The think, think. It's really building it, really bringing it together. How you doing today? Okay, so run into you. I got a nonsense out of it. Our values for slot chest is where it gets that. Yeah. Well, hold on. Let's see. What? I'm at max. What if I do add? Nope, that didn't make a difference. What if I do average? It was the wrong section. That still doesn't work. It's just a Mojang logo and then the main menu. That's unfortunate. Is that because I have -1 toughness, which gets distributed? Yeah, because I have a negative value that gets distributed. Now, I'm curious, if I put on, say, diamond boots, this has 2 armor toughness. Well, I only have 1 armor toughness. Whereas here I have more armor toughness. It's like, if it's... So what'd that say? That said plus 0.1. This says minus 0.6, which makes sense. But dealing with negative armor and negative toughness is weird. That's really weird. How do I deal with negative armor and negative toughness? It's like I want the armor toughness, if negative. Because I shouldn't have toughness if I have 0 toughness to begin with. That much I know. Alright, and here it's plus 0.35, that's plus 0.7, and that, well, that doesn't have any effectiveness because... Oops, that's a Z key. Oh, well, it has 100% effectiveness, so that's technically a -1 toughness. Huh, I've just been cleaning out further unwanted recipes and items. Yeah, well, hopefully that's not too boring. I mean, it can be a bit of a grind. It's like if it's negative. What's the default thing to reroll? It's not a diamond. Would it be its repair material? In this case, could I use obsidian to redo this? Oh wait, no, it wouldn't be obsidian. It would be like sponge, right? But I don't think that's how it would work. No. Right. And I don't think it would be a nether star either. That's my only other idea. Which probably does not work. Oh, it does work. Okay, well, look. There we go. So now, when worn, this will give me negative armor. In fact, it gives me like negative 1.1 armor. Right, but you had full bludgeoning effectiveness, so it didn't affect anything. But here, I got a plus armor. I got plus armor. Still have negative armor. But should not do that. If the armor value is negative, it should be more negative. But only if the effectiveness is negative. That might have something to do with how it distributes the armor, not how it's like merging all of it together, but with how it's distributing the armor. Because in this instance here, right, I have, no, this instance. Which one? This one. I have -1 armor toughness, which it distributes across all the things. So its negative toughness should not be reduced because it's less effective against bludgeoning. That makes no sense. The negative armor should be... The negative armor and toughness should be distributed in a way where if I'm -70% effective, it shouldn't be giving me toughness. Right, because it's giving me toughness. Now I have -1. It should not be giving me toughness. Right, F is the weight here. And I'm going to take -1, multiply that by 0.3, -1, 0.3. As the delta armor values it gives me is plus that. Because it does -0.3 minus -1 right there. I feel like it would make a little bit more sense. Where did we do the sub? Where did we do the sub? Oh, not in the armor classifier. In here. This is where we have the information to do it. Right here. This is where we get the original armor values. What if I do a .abs here, right? I add a way to make this positive. So then if AV is gonna be larger, right? Oh my gosh, dude, my brain hurts. Okay, so if the armor values are negative, then if the armor effectiveness is also negative, I don't want to clamp it necessarily. So that did negative 0.3 minus negative 1, which made it plus 0.7. But say I had positive effectiveness, and it was like, say, negative 1.5 minus negative 1, that would be negative 0.5. You know what? This seems like an opportunity for a config option. Basically, you leave negative handling as is. Um, where are these even located? Located? Located. Yes, located. Please lotate this for me. I gotta put this in here. Gotta love me some lotators, dude. I love me some lotators. So there's default handling, which won't do anything. There's ABS, which will, if the values are negative, will flip them to be positive. And then there's, like, aligning with the effectiveness. Which I don't know how to describe that in a single word. Hmm. Not match effectiveness. Like, that's close, but that doesn't really describe at all what it's doing. I guess relative makes sense, because it's relative to the effectiveness. What am I doing here? Been trying to figure out how to assign a custom block model to a content tweaker. All I found out a bunch of people asking the same question and getting nothing. Oh, so instead of it just being like a six-sided block, it's a specific model. I feel like that could be one of the things where it's like, much like the dynamic textures, it might not support custom block models. It should be protected. And what this is going to do is that this is going to do if I did have it working at one point and I broke it, I don't know how. Oh, so it is definitely a thing. It's just how it worked now. What if one's negative and the other's not negative, right? Like if the toughness is non-negative but the armor is negative, I don't want to do this to that. So this should be a float and it should handle it one at a time. You, my friend, need to now implement a new interface. The silliest interface for this thing to implement. Iterable on float. Stop coloring. Though I still couldn't get the game to stop culling the block below it. I feel like that has to be a limitation with Content Tweaker. Oh my gosh, the name of the mod just left my brain. Even though it's on the screen right here, it just ascended. As enumeration. Adapts an iterator to the enumeration interface. What the heck is the enumeration interface? Whoa, 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 whoa. Random, what is this? An object that implements the enumeration interface generates a series of elements one at a time. Successive calls to next element method return successive elements of the series. Whoa, what the heck is this? This is awesome! How did I not know about this until now? This is sort of like an iterator, but slightly different. Because the iterator... That's really freaking cool. I didn't know about that. I don't know if there's really much point to it, but it is cool. Anyway, back to this. I don't want to cycle. I don't want to cycle indefinitely. I mean, I guess I could cycle and then limit, but... Work something in the block states file, and I still don't know what. I don't remember the last time I used a block states file. Well, I guess I guess a potential thing to make sure is to check to see that the names of all the files line up correctly. Because you might have like a file not found sort of thing. That'd be I guess my first guess to double check. Pretty easy thing to double check. Also pretty easy thing to potentially mess up, especially if files move around or get renamed, but also probably unlikely to be the problem as well, I think. This class is at link comparable. Is this in Lang? Good. Compares armor first, then compares tough, not touchness. I don't want to compare how touching it is. I want to compare how tough it is, how strong. Now I want to add a inherit doc. Then add please tell me that actually. Oh, I need a P? Yes. Oh, I need an M. It has to be like M, right? EM? EM me? It's like the evolution of DM. It's an EM. Yeah, look at that. Wait, why not just do B? B. Yes. I can HTML, dude. By their armor value first, then their toughness value. Okay, good. Now we do the same thing here. With an inherit doc. Shoot, I need a /em that. And I need a B. Okay, I can do the same thing, just so that I don't, like, mess stuff up. This method's documentation /em, or is that /? That is /, whatever. Then we do /b, and then we do this. Okay, look at that. Boom. Beautiful. I should really have an add function here. Oh wait, but this is also... Oh. Why can't I just return this dot set values? Why am I making this more complicated than it needs to be? Hold on. Suspicious alert. If AV is null, return this. Otherwise, return this dot add AV dot armor, AV dot toughness. Sure. Cool. Nice documentation, bro. Cool story. And then I'll do a public armor values ABS. Oops. No, bro, what are you doing? What? Why am I even bothering, dude? Math.abs this, bro. And then math.abs this too. This dot toughness. Okay. This armor value armor and toughness will be the sure. We'll take it. Alright. Handle potential negative armor values. There are not three S's in toughness. Fun fact. If AV dot has negative values, then return this dot handle negative. Otherwise, return AV. Just a quick throw in there. Oh. Right. Right. I remember what I was doing. I don't need this. This is nonsense. That's gonna be this. This thing here is going to override handle potential negative armor values. And this is just gonna return av.abs. av.abs. Yes, return av.abs. And this, just for completeness, will return bro. Okay. Hi. Hi, Max Tom. How you doing? This is just a pass-through. And then we have this nonsense, which is interesting. If f is less than 0, then finished class and ran back. Nice. Now watching a good stream. Hey, yo. That's the right mentality to have. if f is less than 0, I don't think I can do an I++ in here, because it probably needs to be final. Well, I guess we're good. Values indexed at I equals this dot handle negative f and effectiveness. Okay. You know, the more and more I think about this, the more and more I realize this is completely superfluous. Because just have this be abstract, boy. Because it makes a lot more sense. This, be gone. Because I'm already adding very specific behavior anyways, so... Because this should just return AV. This, no matter what, returns av.abs, which completely handles the whole thing. This one is where it should do this whole thing. Just like that. Now, I can't put a specific method in here. I don't think. Maybe. What if I just do this for now? Is it gonna... Oh, look at you. You do work. And that's what I was talking about. That's literally what I was talking about. Alright, well, look, if you're gonna be like that, then I'm just gonna do for float f in AV and just kind of do that. Get clapped, my guy. Now, we don't return AV here. Instead, what we return is we return... Actually, we do return AV. Well, we return AV.setValues. Values indexed at 0. Values indexed at 1. So now, on the instance where if effectiveness is less than 1.0, then I should return value keep it negative. So it's already negative. So if the value is negative, then what I want to do is change it depending on the effectiveness. If the effectiveness is less than 1, then we're in that situation where we had like minus 70% bludgeoning effectiveness with negative toughness, which added toughness, which I don't want to do. And it did that because it subtracted. Holy moly, bro. That's after it merged. Should I do it before I reduce? Probably, because I need to... Okay. Well, where am I inserting this, though? That's what I want to know. Probably here, when it's like trying to distribute. It puts that, and then... Because I have the value in that at that point, so it would be probably in the distribute armor section. Do I need to know the original? Should I know the original? Because I subtracted 1 from there. I don't know what I'm doing. I get the armor resistances. I distribute the armor. If it's negative, because after the merge, because that's when it subtracts this original armor value. And I want it so that if I have, say, negative 70%, then when I get hit by a attack that hits that negative 70%, and I have negative toughness. If I have negative 1 toughness, I should have like negative 1.7 toughness. Because it's handling a minus negative 1. Can I even do this relative to the effectiveness? Because at this point, I don't know what the effectiveness is. I've already combined it and merged it and all that other stuff. I mean, I could do map.entrySet.stream, because the entry set would have the damage type. Distributing that isn't the problem. I don't think. I think it's when we subtract this part, that's the problem. How do I want this to work? If I have positive, if I have negative effectiveness, so I have less than 1 effectiveness, I get hit with negative toughness. If I have negative 1 toughness, I get hit. What do I want to have happen? Should it be negative 1.3 toughness if it's minus 70% effectiveness? Negative 1.7 toughness. Or should it be plus 0.7? Well, it should be plus 0.7. It should be a subtract. But which one? Minus 0.3, or minus 1.3, or minus 1.7? The minus 1.7 makes sense. Which means if it distributes to negative 0.3, how do I make it negative 1.7? It should subtract it It would be on this. This is where I'd be calling it. The ABS version would get minus 1.3. The default version would get plus 0.7, and the relative version should get minus 1.7. And that minus 1.7 should be computed by taking the reverse. If I know the effectiveness, I can divide by the effectiveness and multiply it by, like, I can divide by the effectiveness. Multiply by 1 minus the effectiveness. And that's value. That's value times effectiveness value. Value over effectiveness minus value. In this case, it would be 0.3 or negative 0.3 divided by 0.3. What the heck, bro? Because 0.3 effectiveness. And I'm taking 0.3, because I distributed 1. I'm dividing it by 0.3. No duh, that gets you 1. And then I subtract 0.3. And that gets me 0.7. And that should be, well, this was negative 0.3. Minus negative that, which gets me negative 0.7. Which I guess is what I want, right? However, that's not the value we're distributing. We are distributing the value 1. Negative 1. Divide by 0.3, which is the effectiveness. Subtract negative 1. Which is still not quite right. Because I'm gonna have the original value and the effectiveness. In which case, then I just do negative 1 times 1 minus the effectiveness, which was 0.3. And that gets me negative 0.7. And I would get negative 0.3, subtract that. What the heck? What am I doing? So this is going to have some armor value, and then it has negative 0.3 as its toughness. Assuming we're distributing -1 toughness, right? This has negative 0.3. And then I need to subtract this. Which has -1, and the effectiveness -1 minus that. Should it be the value though? Yeah, the value, which is already negative, subtract or I guess add the value, which is itself negative, times the reverse of that. That gets negative 1.7. Plus the value, which is -1 times the original effectiveness. And then we're going to get negative 0.3, and we're going to subtract that. And that maps it to 1.7. Bro, I need to make a negative out in front? What are you doing, bro? Holy shit. What the hell am I doing? Because the problem with ABS is that for effectiveness that's higher than 1, we're going to end up with a larger penalty for negative armor. I'm tempted to just do one of these and just leave it like this. I might do that. Where's my resistance category? Resistant. Yeah, there we go. DDD compute armor modifications. Does that make any sense? To their absolute value. This results in Convert negative armor slash toughness to their absolute value when computing armor modifications relative to their original armor slash toughness values. As more, yes. Results in larger negative armor values for armor with effectiveness below 100% and smaller negative values for armor with effectiveness above 100%. That make any sense at all? I have no idea. The relative thing doesn't really matter because this behavior sort of mimics that. It's just the relative behavior would do it differently. Still be negative. Will it still be negative overall? What if I have plus 50% armor effectiveness? Then I subtract -1. It'll be smaller in magnitude. But, what is going on? Okay. Good. Nothing broke, just things buffered. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Negative 1.5 minus -1 is going to give me negative 0.5. Beats it relative to the original armor slash toughness value, which results in a positive armor modification value if the effectiveness is less than 100%, and negative armor modification value if the effectiveness is over 100%. Results in larger negative armor slash toughness values for armor with effectiveness below, and smaller negative slash armored slash toughness for effectiveness above 100%. I don't know, does that make any fucking sense? It's good enough. We don't need no effectiveness here. Okay, yeah, alright. That works for me. That worked for you, works for me. Now that I've addressed it, I basically wipe my hands and say it's a feature. And then we're done. And the armor calculations that result from this is whatever it is. But everything else works correctly when it comes to quality tools, so we can actually check that off. Now this. This is what I was concerned about. This is what I was like, I'm not looking forward to having to dig into this. But here we are. First aid. Not eighth. First aid. And what version are we going to be using here? 1.6.22. What version is here? Where? Where, bro? Where? First aid. Here we are. 1.6.22. Okay. Using the latest one. So, let's see. How fucking bad is it? How much does first aid prevent DDD from, like, working at all? I have no idea. Alright, so there's a tutorial which pressing H doesn't do shit about, but that's cool. Um, oh, yeah, because it conflicts with Construct Armory. So set this to that, whatever. I don't care. It friggin' works for me. No, what are you doing? Okay, so this is first aid. Basically what happens is your health is distributed amongst different body parts. Vanilla health bar is gone. That was known, has been replaced by this system. Every part of your body has its own health. So if you fall from a high place, one of your feet will be damaged. This may cause some debuffs to apply. And these effects may be bypassed by taking morphine or healing the wound. Wounds can be healed by doing whatever. If you sleep in a bed, you regenerate a little bit. A player can die if a critical organ health, head or body, drops to 0. In this case, the player would be dead no matter how much health the other organs have. If you want to see your current health and active healers, just press H to open this interface. And yeah, so basically, neat little system. But the way it does things under the hood kind of breaks DDD a little, I think. With one armor piece, probably not, right? Though it depends, right? So right now, this armor, it says everything relating to locational armor. Notice how it's all talking locational armor, right? So now this is providing 15 locational armor instead of the usual 6. Because, yeah. Now if I walk into this zombie, I take some significant damage, right? For starters, my right arm is just gone. This is neat. And I took some damage on my body. Now, it still gave me a minus 3.15 armor and plus toughness modification because this thing is weird. Because this is crumbling, right? But if we go to something that's not crumbling, like this thing right here, right? Now, if I walk into this, I should get a minus, like, something, right? I get a minus 4.2. For starters, dude hit my feet somehow. I don't know how the dude hit my feet, but he hit my feet. Sure. Which also makes me slow. I might want some morphine. So you eat the entire thing of morphine. Which is nice. I don't know why the hunger bar is a little tinted, but whatever. Now, this thing still hits my arm. Now, I think for like I don't know how it's distributing this damage, but what I do know is that for something like this fella here, he should, but he's really bad. He should go for a headshot, but he's not going for a headshot. There we go. He went for a headshot. And killed me instantly. gotta go get this stuff back. Maybe I should have put a chest down. That would have made a lot of sense. Considering some of those items definitely fell into the void, and I don't know if I wanted them all to fall into the void. Anyway, I can make myself invulnerable, and I shouldn't take any damage. That should allow me to get all this back. Yeah, I don't take anything. Current damage was 204.8. Wait, what the heck? What do you mean current damage was 204.8? Probably because it tried to kill me. I don't know. Put all this shit in here. Oh yeah, the morphine that I had just fell off the fucking cliff. Alright, so now this thing should provide me some armor, right? Because it's against the piercing damage. But I am getting a minus armor modification in spite of the fact that I have like armor. And something that's also important and kind of huge here is the damage info. Currently the damage info is disabled, right? But if I enable the damage info in chat, and let's say I summon this fellow, right? It shows the damage, right? The final damage after resistance's immunity was 0.7. And it will continue to say that as he falls into the void and just despawns and dies. Right? Okay, cool. Right? Now, if I walk up to this fella and he hits me, it still shows damage. Why? From my understanding, this doesn't have a config. Okay. Enchantment handling. It says local enchantments. Only enchantments for the armor for the body part is currently taken into account. Override entries. Okay, sure. I don't know what that's going on. Locational armor. I don't know what any of that is. Many damage distributions are more realistic, but also this will also cause them to be harder. Use friendly random distribution. Okay, so if we do this, right? We have to restart. Lovely. I don't know why, but we have to restart for that. Probably because it has to redo the registration. But basically, if we do that, I believe that's what RLCraft will have. RLCraft will have that realistic damage spread. This is important because it's going to hit me like right away. It's hard to figure out like exactly what the compat for this is or what is needed. Obviously, it needs to only take into account the armor parts that are applicable, but then also like take into account the locational armor. But the way First Aid does it is that that locational armor, it's not like some attribute or something there. It just computes that stuff on the fly by multiplying it, which means I would have to do the same thing, which I can do, but it's a matter of figuring out like how it does it. I spent a lot of time looking at the repository. I need to know how it does it. I need to know like how it's gonna work and all this other stuff. So with the helmet, this thing probably just kills me, bro. Come on. That did not shoot. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, that shot. That shot me right in the head. And how much damage did it do? It did 1 point of damage. So, okay, you shot me in the body, and you shot me in the body? Yeah, oh, you shot me in the body, dude. That freaking hurt. But notice how it's still applying armor. Now, granted, there was no armor to apply in that context. Like, I got a minus armor modification, right? But it didn't actually use any armor because first aid chose the specific part and then took. And since I had no armor, there was no armor to apply in that context, right? Let's say I go with something that has no piercing effectiveness, right, on the body. Do I have anything with no piercing effectiveness? I wouldn't know because piercing is a hidden type. I had that be hidden. Damn it. Um, I really should have that no longer be a hidden type. That's clearly gonna interfere with stuff. Um, yes, please do not like you can hide psychic, whatever. I don't care. Don't hide piercing, all right? Please don't. Please stop that. You can hide psychic for all I care. I need a relaunch. I probably need a relaunch. I probably should relaunch. And this is why I had to do pretty much everything I did first. I wanted to make sure all the armor calculations were working as intended, that everything was working properly, so that I had like something to reference when trying to figure out how this is going to work with first aid. And by having something to reference, I mean knowing what all this is supposed to be doing. So how do... Okay, so now... Now piercing effectiveness shows up. Good. I have a minus 30% piercing effectiveness. Which is why it was altering my armor, right? Good. Good. Now, I want to see if I can find something that has... Oh, I won't find something with a 0% piercing effectiveness, right? Well, the leggings. The leggings have a 0% piercing effectiveness. But then they would have to shoot me in the legs, which I ain't messing with. This is pretty close, though. This is pretty close, right? This is a minus 95% piercing effectiveness, which means, like, this basically should do nothing, right? Now, 95% of the original armor, which I think was 3... I think it was 3. I think the original armor was 3. I can figure this out. Locational armor. Chest armor multiplied is 2.5. So take 7.5 and divide by 2.5. 7.5 divided by 2.5 is 3. Three? Yeah, three. Three. So this is 3 armor, and minus 95% of that, 3 times 0.05 should be 0.15 armor. So this provides 0.15 armor against piercing attacks. Baseline. But in first aid, that's gonna be weird. And, okay, so in total, I should have the locational armor from the helmet. This is lovely. The locational armor for the helmet is times 6. So 13 divided by 6 is what? Okay, well, we know the iron helmet provides 2 armor. Baseline, right? So this provides 2 armor. This provides 3 armor. So minus 30% piercing effectiveness means it has 70% piercing effectiveness. So 2 times 0.7 is 1.4. This should provide 1.4 armor against piercing, and this should provide 0.15 armor against piercing. So we can add 0.15. We get 1.55, right? Now we took a minus 3.45, which should add to 5. Yes, that adds to 5, which is the amount. So, like, it correctly computed the armor that should be reduced, right? But it's weird. Because this, while correct, it should not use all of that armor. Right? It should only use the armor that's applicable. And this is why I fiddled with earlier trying to have DDD apply attribute modifiers to the item stack instead of to the entity. And that was because then that would basically fix this whole thing. Because then first aid would come in, grab the attribute modifiers and all that stuff from the item stack and just kind of chug along and be fine. But I can't do that because you can't effectively remove attribute modifiers from an item stack. Not easily, anyway. It's weird. And you can't really alter the value that exists either because that's also weird. And it never really worked. And so... Right, notice how it shot me in the head? And it didn't damage my tunic, because it shot me in the head, and so only my head was applied. Right? But first aid used the negative armor penalty to make me take more damage? Yeah, like this thing's minus 95% piercing effectiveness made me take more damage. Not even joking. Look at this. So I took 1, and the final damage was 2.79, right? Okay. Now I can verify this is jank by going here, taking this off. Now first aid is still using the same armor, right? Before I took 2.79. Now 2.79 with 4 damage coming in. Now this should be a little different. Okay, well, he shot me in the arm. So that doesn't count. Also, some zombie fell off the edge. Lovely. Dude, I need you to shoot me in the head. That's not the head. That's not the head, bro. That's not the head. I also don't want to die. Bro, in the head. I took 2.34 damage. Okay. Notice I took 2.79, now I took 2.34. And it was 4 damage in. So I actually took more damage wearing this. Which is not how that's supposed to work. And this is why we need the Compat. Yeah, I suspect that's also incorrect. If first aid is installed, maybe it's got a big hidden kick me on it somewhere. It might. If first aid is installed, I believe this is where we have to change the armor injector. We have to add like another different armor injector thing. I think. Because basically, we have an armor injector for quality tools to inject its modifications that it makes. And I think there was an armor injector for Tinker's Construct as well. For its specific armor stuff. Maybe. I'm gonna double check that. Actually, I know there was. And I believe it's under Conarm only. It registers an armor value injector, where it gets the armor and it gets the toughness. We need to register an armor value injector to correct the way Conarm deals with armor properties, right? So we had to do that, right? And now we have that armor value injector that's being used here, right? And that is used here. But now it's like we need this here. The valid armor slots. When we are determining the context, determining the valid armor slots. This is where we need to add additional stuff. For like first aid here to get the right armor pieces so that first DDD uses the correct armor pieces, right? And then we need I don't know if that's necessary. That might be necessary. But when we're determining this context, we have this damage source here. I don't know if first aid, if I can just figure that out. All right, and this is the issue. This is the thing. I don't know if it has that. If there's just a please give me the, locational distribution. So I'm gonna look at this common damage system. That's for that, but like, okay. This event handler in first aid. I'm looking at first aid right now. Common utils has damage model. Oh, that's if it has that. Okay. Get damage model. That's for that. Oh, I have to change this to the master branch. Get damage distribution for source. Where's this ray trace result? Okay. So it's got a registry implementation, which gets the damage distribution for the source. API. API implementation. Distribution. Wait, what the? Oh, first aid registry implementation.java. Extends first aid registry. Sure, okay. What does that extend? I don't know if it matters that much. Register debuff, whatever. Get damage distribution for source. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be a freaking nightmare. Okay. Okay. We probably need, like, guaranteed, we probably need to add stuff for this. So I'm going to add this Curse Maven snippet right here. right? And maybe do a build. I think if I do a build, it should hopefully add it. I really hope it does. Please just like download first aid, put it in. While that's going, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna see. There's no releases published. You're fucking joking. And there's no additional files. You're also joking. There's no sources. That's lovely. That's my favorite, bro. Also, this is taking forever. And I guarantee you it has nothing to do with what it's trying to do here. Because it just hasn't. Dude, do the thing? You're gonna do it? There we go. Okay, it does say that there is an issue with this on 25. Unable to locate obfuscation mapping for at shadow method. I don't know why it does that. But it does not complain, so I don't fucking know. I mean, it built, alright? It built. Which means that in not here, not here, not here, or here, in the external dependencies, we have first aid. Okay, it's right here. All this stuff is right here. So, you know what's great? This is my favorite. I have not been looking forward to this at all. Let's do it in the armor classifier. Um, right, like there is a first aid registry implementation dot instance dot like there's a get damage distribution for source, right? Let's just put a null there for whatever, it doesn't matter. You know what this returns? This returns an I damage distribution. But do not be fooled. This I damage distribution is not the same as let's see, API. I need the capability. There we go. This I damage distribution is not the same as this I damage distribution. I kid you not. In first aid, there is a class that has the same name as something in DDD. So now I have to differentiate between a first aid damage distribution and a DDD damage distribution. And that's gonna be loads of fun. And by loads of fun, I mean God help me. For example, if I get a damage if I go to my damage classifier here, right here, right, this is going to get a damage distribution, which is an I damage distribution, and it's gonna work on that, right? But now let's say for jokes, right? I need to in here compute something related to a first aid damage distribution, and I do first aid registry implementation dot instance dot get damage distribution for source, and I pass in the context dot get source, right? This is a different damage distribution. This has to be named like this so that Java knows that I'm talking about the damage distribution located in here instead of the damage distribution that would be like here. There's a different class with the same name. And look, it's even called get damage distribution and get damage distribution. So there's so many things that have like the same name, which I'm not looking forward to at all. In here, it's okay because we don't have an I damage distribution imported here. We don't have the DDD I damage distribution imported here, so I can just use the first aid one. But basically, what I would really want to do here is obviously not have any of this here at all, right? And then have a separate package here that handles all the first aid stuff, right? And then I localize all of that to there to minimize the like random overlap of same class names and stuff, which would be very bad. So in the integration package, I'm going to have to insert a new package, and this one is going to be for first aid. What's going to be in here? Not a freaking clue. And that's the thing. I'm not sure exactly what needs to be done and exactly how it should be done. But I can tell you, I am not looking forward to losing my mind with this, because this is a matter of figuring out. This is a matter of figuring out how first aid computes armor and like how it needs to alter that armor, or like how it chooses to alter that armor, and how DDD needs to align with that modification in some way. I don't know how it's going to do that. Part of it does come to making sure that DDD is only getting the valid armor slots. That's definitely part of it. The other part of it is making sure that the armor values that it uses is correctly altered. I definitely feel like I'm going to have to add a stack armor value injector to inject the locational armor, because that's what it's going to be doing. And maybe that's all I need to do. Maybe. I'm not sure. It really does depend on a lot of things here. It depends a lot on how this wants to. Okay, it might not be that bad. Um, it really depends on how first aid combines armor together. How does first aid do that? I don't know. It doesn't seem to freaking say. It doesn't seem to know. It's also a question of how it handles this, because it gets the damage distribution for the source, and then we go into handle damage taken. Which we open that in a new tab, and we have to change this back to the master branch, and handle damage taken. Okay, so it still posts an on-living damage, so we don't need to do that. And then where does it Arena tools that apply armor? Oh, so it gets the slot associated with the part and then runs armor calcs on that and then posts living damage. Hmm. I don't know. Because it'll need to. What DDD needs to do is change the armor for that. Huh. All right. Well, this is going to require a little bit of research. That's what this is going to require, as I'm going to have to figure out how this works. Well, I've done a lot of research into it, but like exactly how DDD should be working with this, that's going to be the tricky thing. That's going to be, I have no idea. I have a lot of research to do kind of thing. So, since I have a lot of research to do, and I've been streaming for about 3 hours, and I have work later today, so it looks like I should probably wrap up anyway. So I'll do that. Um, and next time I look into this, maybe I'll already have the answer, or maybe I will continue to do research. Who knows? But hopefully you'll join me for that journey in the future when we get there. So thank you everyone for tuning in, checking this out. I had a lot of fun with this. This was very interesting. And yeah, it was good.